So I've talked before about how the newsstand isn't coming back because the newsstand itself is much different. And I did a little bit on the Thinking Critical show with Wes where he talked about things that weren't coming back. We both kind of agreed the newsstand, certainly not as we've known it, is not coming back. But as someone pointed out, and you're not wrong, hey, when I go to a supermarket, I see the little Archie Digest sitting there. It's being sold there. What gives? And you're right. What does give? Hey everybody, this is Perch. I'm going to chalk this whole thing up to the fact that there's a lot of people working in comics who are doing it, quote unquote, the way they know how to do it, our way, and they don't necessarily they don't think it through, or maybe a better way to put it, they're too blinded by how things have always been, and they're not thinking about how things could be, and it is I think that you look at that, basically what I'm talking about. If you've been to a grocery store, you've seen this smaller, I would say 6x8, maybe, I don't know, that smaller kind of digest version, and it's printed on cheap newsprint, and it's Archie, and it's got, I don't know how many pages that thing has, 50 pages maybe. I don't. It's bigger than a normal comic book. It's got like a couple in there, and they're sold on the end caps or at the register. And it's funny because, obviously the fact that they're still there, the fact that they keep doing this indicates that yes, they are sold. It's not a something that's collecting dust. They do tend to sell. And that whole area, right? But like at the grocery store while you're waiting to check out is an interesting one because that's where, at least if you're like my kids get into that line and then they've been pretty good the entire trip through the grocery store. And then suddenly it's like they determine, what they really need is some chocolate or some gum or breath mints or dental floss or batteries or whatever it is. There's like this, both of them have this like compelling kind of magnetic draw. They like, oh my God, we're about to leave the store. We got to buy something else. What else do we have to, quick, pick something from this area. And many times they have stumbled across the Archie, digest of like, hey, I want this. I'm like, you do not read Archie. In fact, the one I've bought it for you before, and you both declared it stupid, and the younger one declared it gross because they're trying to kiss, and you guys hate it. So, why are you asking for this? So, like, they don't really know why. They want one last purchase before we go out the door. But it strikes me that if you're the supermarket, you're selling Archie, cool. But you're aware that the MCU is making tons of money. You're aware that, Superman and Batman and that kind of stuff's out there. And if Marvel or DC in particular published in that size format, meaning you don't have to reconfigure your racks, you can put it right up there where the what is it, TV Digest? Does that they sell that anymore? I don't think so. Does anybody even know what that is anymore? I don't think that's a thing. God, is that even a web thing? Did they successfully make the transition to web? Is it streaming digest now? Is it even called digest? Is anybody? Maybe this is what Vox is now, or maybe they have BuzzFeed. It may have just became BuzzFeed. I don't know. That makes sense to me. I'm joking. Anyway, make it that size so nobody has to configure the racks or anything else, and offer up a little digest of 4 or 5 comics that you're wanting to push, printed on newsprint, put up there on the newsstand right there. And I think, number one, I think it would sell. I think it would sell better than Archie. Because, I mean, again, if you've been to the grocery store and you see them with their, like, People magazines, MCU tribute, and they've got a bunch of nonsense about, like, pictures of the MCU and other things. And people buy that crap. And you're telling me parents at the grocery store wouldn't pick up a copy of, Marvel Monthly or DC Monthly that sits there that's like you'll get a Batman story, a Superman story, and inside that thing, it could be chock full of ads for like, hey, if you like this little collection of like 4 comics printed on newsprint, you're really going to love? You're really going to love, the floppy comics that you can get your local comic shop, or here's DC Marvel Unlimited that you can get stuff digital, whatever you want to go, we're here to take your money. That would work. It would work, and you don't even need to spend much money on it. You're basically printing something from maybe the month before, collected into one zine, kind of Shonen Jump style, and one smaller little collection You don't need to make original content. In fact, don't make original content. You're not trying to grab the comic collectors already buying this stuff. Just put out some good, solid stories in that format with characters at least vaguely reminiscent of what you're seeing on the screen, and it will sell. That's probably one dead simple way you start getting that new audience you want. You start getting new people pulled into comics. You start doing that, make it super easy. You don't need to complicate. Again, I threw this idea out once to some editors. They're like, we'd have to commission, a story, and it would be adding to our line. It'd be a whole different thing, and then, the artist would need to draw for that format. And I'm like, no, don't do any of that. Just take some stories, and you can go further back if you want. Go to things that are semi timeless. Like, go to the beginning of Tom King's run, where Batman is meeting Gotham Girl and Gotham Guy, and and then the whole monster storyline right after that. Take those two little arcs, throw them into a book, tell a chapter at a time. That's going to take you, 10 issues. That's going to take you almost a whole year just to put those out. And then while you're at it, throw in some Tomasi Superman with a kid, and and maybe a Green Lantern story from at some point. I mean, you don't have to make it. Doesn't all have to be current. Just have it be something that looks pretty strong from the past, reprinted, and out it goes. That's all you have to do. Simple. I think it's right there in front of you, and that's what you should do. And I think if you could do that, um, again, that the newsstand is viable. That is your newsstand. That is most likely where you're going to pick up some people who may not be into comics, but you've got a captive audience, and you're not laying a lot of cash out, and you're just putting that out there. And why not? And hey, Marvel and DC, you guys are nice, good, competitive people. Um, why not take Archie out? I mean, screw Archie, right? Yeah, you want that shelf space. Just go in there and say, hey, we're offering something to you for your checkout line. It's printed smaller format. You just slip it right in there and sign that deal. I am 100% sure that the big grocery store chains would hop on that. If you tell them you've got something that's going to connect into the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the DC, we know they would do it because they're already doing it for other magazine providers are cramming there at the end cap. So, why not some comics? To me, as I struggle to think about where the newsstand is viable, that's one clear area where it is. And, money can be made. So why not? I don't know. You tell me. So people who are listening right now, number one, you've experienced this? Do you have kids? Have you seen this go down? When you buy groceries, you see this thing. Next time you go to the grocery store, check it out. Look at that thing there in the line. And you tell me, picture, kind of close your eyes and imagine that there's a little Marvel or DC comic stuffed in there. Or hell, maybe some of the indies can get together and, put a little indie collection out there. Be the next Shonen Jump. Don't put like weird, don't put the adult stuff in there. It's got to be somewhat all ages, but it doesn't need to be kid friendly. It just needs to be, pretty much any Marvel or DC comic would go just fine in there. And you're not trying to create an ongoing run. You're not trying to create something new. So you have your pick of the last, 20 years or more of content. I mean, hell, go for it. Why not? How hard can it be? Wouldn't be that hard. You own all the assets. I'm just saying. Anyway, let me know in the comments below if you think this is a viable idea, dumb idea, it would never work. But I think this is the newsstand. This is what's left of the newsstand. So, stuff does get bought there. So why not give it a try? Anyway, let me know in the comments below if you think that's a good idea, bad idea, crazy idea, all that kind of stuff. Like, subscribe, check if you're still subscribed. A lot of people are getting unsubscribed, I guess. So, I don't know what YouTube is doing there. They're nuts. YouTube crazy. And, hey, follow me on social media. Shoot me a mail at comicsperch with an S at gmail.com. But most importantly, and I do mean it, I know I say it, this is kind of the wrap up every time, but I do mean it. I thank you for listening. I appreciate it. When I see the comments and everything coming in, whether you agree, you disagree, you upvote, downvote, whatever else, I appreciate you listening. Give me the time of day. Always appreciate it. Thank you.